Learn to live your life so you don't look back with regret.
Yeah.
I had already ruined the entire plan. Welcome, Woven Ones. This is Generations Woven, where the voices of 3 generations blend into one tapestry of truth, laughter, love, and life. Have you ever looked back at an earlier version of yourself and thought, wow, I had no idea what I was doing? Well, today we're sitting down talking about the lessons that life teaches us in different seasons. The kind you don't learn from a book. We're coming at this from 3 very different stages of life and reflecting on what our 20s, 40s, and 60s taught us. This isn't about regret or doing things differently. It's about understanding. It's about looking back with compassion, honoring the woman you were in each season, and recognizing that every version of you was learning exactly what she needed to learn at that time.
Shining like the sun, generations woven.
So, Judy, we're going to start with you.
Oh, great.
With your 7.5 decades of wisdom.
Really quick, we have over 11,000 Woven Ones showing up every single month for this community. But my team just told me 76% of you haven't hit the subscribe button yet. That's one free click. It's how we get sponsors, how we grow, and how we keep bringing these conversations to women who need them. So don't just watch, be part of building this. Subscribe right now. Thank you so much.
Looking back, what are some moments in time that you felt were lessons that you had to learn the hard way?
I can't remember.
It's been too long.
That I have to say right up front is that for so long I didn't think women knew that much. I was raised in a pool hall. I was raised around men. I understood how men thought about things, but women just sort of escaped me. Started realizing that the real women in my life, wow, they had touched me in ways I hadn't even imagined because they had pearls of wisdom. They too had lived a life. They have, and much more challenging lives as technology goes forward, our lives become so much easier to navigate. But I learned so much from women that crossed my path, and I took a little bit from each one along the way. And that was the thing that made such a shift in my growth, is when I realized that God had put into my life all these little seeds. They were gifts, and they were planted along my path as I went along life. And I'm so grateful for the women that were in my life.
I think, learning from others is something, especially when I was younger, I struggled with. I had a daughter young, and when other mothers tried to give me advice, I can do this. I've got this. I didn't want to take any advice because I was young and I just didn't realize the support that advice could give. I felt like I needed to do it and prove myself. And it's taken me a long time to even take advice from different aspects, right? I'm one of those people who really likes to make sure I'm doing whatever I'm doing the best it can be done. So I'm thinking I have to research, and I spend all this time reading a book or researching online or what is the best way. And then sometimes I get overwhelmed by finding the best way that I just don't even do something. And I'm like, okay, well, this is way too much. I can't find the best way. It's not efficient enough. I should just not do it. That's how I used to be anyway. I've gotten better. But I never took advantage of those pearls of wisdom when I was younger, like I feel I do now. And there's been moments with her and I where I try to tell her how to do something. And she doesn't want to hear it from me. She's like, no, Mom. And I know it's exactly the same as me. Like I was her. I get that. And we've come a long way in our communication and how we've talked. I wish I would have listened, been more receptive to feedback versus closed off because I'm going to do this on my own way, which there's lots of pearls that I missed out on, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, and you never know when you're going to make a difference in someone's life. I look back and, the person that affects your life and our audience watching here is it could have been your second grade teacher. It could have been the lady across the backyard. It could have been anyone. And out of nowhere, they presented you with a piece of wisdom that you needed. And they didn't even know they were doing it most of the time. They were there at the right time when you needed.
That invisible thread.
Yep, that invisible thread, exactly.
That is very true. I can think about some of those instances now as you bring that up.
But you know what, Tasha, it's true what you're saying about you need to be open to that. And I don't think I was very open to advice to. I am now. But the
As
pearls,
we grow.
as we grow into the different generations.
You get your hair behind your ear.
Which side is it? This one?
Yeah.
This is for my mom. But I've learned some really amazing things from her and from my paternal, both sides. But my mom's mom, I could relate to her. She was a businesswoman, and there's a strong thread of businesswomen in our families. So I grew up where my mom was working, and my friends, their moms were stay-at-home moms. So, I don't know if the average kid will write down something about their husband or what they're going to look like in their wedding dress, and I'm like, I don't think about stuff like that. I wanted to business, and I wanted to travel, and that's what I did. So I came to the United States when I was in my early 20s, and very much searching for what do I want, and I changed my religion. I was very angry at God. And Lauren, I was studying at UCLA and went into computer science. And if I look back now, that's why sometimes it's hard to look back and say, well, I shouldn't have done that, or, this was not a good idea. All that wisdom makes who you are today. Granted, there are some things where I'm like, yeah, I wish I didn't do that. But most of it I'm thankful for because it gave us good stories. And I can say to my daughter, who is also a business entrepreneur, this is how I would do this. And the one thing I can say, looking back at, moving continents 3 times, where I am in my 60s, man, I love it. 60s, like I feel like the wisdom from all the other ages got me to a point where I am now. And I'm kinder and more gentle towards myself and other people. But I had to go through those journeys of not liking myself, not appreciating things to get to this point. So
Well,
I don't know.
you think 60s are good. Wait till you get to the 70s.
I can't wait. Because I have to say 60 is amazing.
So-
It's just amazing.
So, Nerina, what is something, if you could meet your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
I would say just stop worrying about so much. Just do the best you can. Yes, you're supposed to make all these mistakes. It's okay. It's okay. Because I have a younger sister. I always used to call her, she's perfect. Because I felt like her life was so predictable and so organized. And it just felt like it fell in place so beautifully. Mine fell in place, but not like that. Not like that.
Like a bit of a wreck, but it fell.
I made it up as I was going along.
Yeah.
And that was more my personality. But looking back, I'm like, wow, what a life. I've done a lot of things, met a lot of people. But I definitely would say to a 20-year-old, find who you are. Find out your gifts. There's something incredibly empowering about a 20-year-old who knows who they are. They know their gifts. They know their boundaries. I wish at age 40, I knew exactly the
Yeah.
one thing that I wanted to do.
I'm not sure what I want to be when I grow up.
Fun.
And that's the thing about, I had the same situation when I was 28.
Mhm.
I was thinking, okay, I had a decent life at the time. I worked at a hospital. We had a home, we had nice cars, I had my family, like we did vacations, like we were doing well, if you're gonna put it on like on a chart. I was happy with my life, but I was thinking, okay, what am I gonna really do with my life now? Like I have to figure this out before I'm 30. And I look back on that and if I could tell my 20-year-old self something, just give yourself some time.
Yeah.
It's all going to work out. We put a lot of pressure on
Exactly.
the things. I had already ruined the entire plan and had a child, before I graduated high school. So that shifted my whole life anyway. But then I felt like I had to prove myself because of that. I had to continue to like fight to prove myself. And while it got me, even where I am today, I can take credit of myself for where I've gotten. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I was younger that I look back now and like, even if I was in the same spot, I'm like, just live your life a little bit, don't worry about what other people think. Don't think that you have to show what you've accomplished for anyone else's need.
I notice a lot of young women on Facebook, or they got the new car, or they got this. And it's like they're validating that they're
Yes.
worthwhile. And it's like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, and I was there. It was me. I was that girl too. And that's where I think I put pressure into achieving those things. And
But for whom?
I don't know, for the people on the internet. And that's what, like right now, we are putting ourselves completely out there, right? Telling our stories,
Our family story.
our family story. We're being us.
Honest.
Yes.
Very honest.
Well, I think
I am also like,
we are willing to be at risk to help others.
Oof.
yeah.
I like
And
that.
maybe that's where it's like, I feel like this greater purpose
Right.
on myself than to worry about that. And that's where I would tell my 20-year-old self, like, look at you now. Like, you don't care what someone's thinking.
Yes.
You're pushing 40 and 20-year-old you would have been way more sheltered in this conversation.
I just remembered something. Probably one of the greatest pearls of wisdom that I ever received was from my godmother. She's gone now, but she said to me, and I was probably late 40s, early 50s. She said, "Learn to live your life so you don't look back with regret."
Yeah. Oof.
And there's a lot to that in whatever you're doing, is relationships with kids, with your job, but live your life so you don't have to look back with regrets.
So what would you say to your 20-year-old self as advice?
I'd say relax, be still, listen, and believe. And when you take yourself down out of that hype of, I got to do something, I got to be this, I got to do that, I've got to have a car, I got to have, take yourself out of that and just be you and be still and listen to what the universe is saying, what God's telling you. There's so much beauty to be had. There's so much gifts that you have you don't even know because you're too busy doing other things to even figure it out. So I guess that's what I would have said to myself. I wish I'd have discovered some of the things that are my gifts to share with the world a lot earlier, but wasn't meant to be. Part of what I went through helps me relate to others that are struggling now.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about our gifts sometime.
Yeah, that would be good. I definitely would say, be bold. If you make a mistake, fine. But go out there and try different things.
Fail.
Fail has such a
Fail.
negative connotation. And the thing is, if we fail forward, it's still better than where you were if you've done nothing. So And you're not going to know all the talents and gifts you have unless you try new things. Um, dare to live a big life. We were talking about, cars and houses and stuff like that. And I can look at, back at many years where I had the Mercedes Benz and we had the huge three house. I don't want that right now. I don't.
It's a different season.
It was exactly, it was for a season.
Society, social media sets this precedence for how we should be or what your life should look like.
Right.
And it takes courage to look inside and say, what does my life look like?
Yes.
My life doesn't have to look like that magazine. My life doesn't have to look like my friend's life. We all have different desires and different needs. And I think that courage to say, what does my life look like is where we can like find ourselves.
Right. Does that make me happy?
Yeah.
Does having this or that or look like that or paying that price for that,
Yeah.
is that worth it to me?
Is it worth it to
And
me?
if the answer is no, then
And what brings you peace?
yeah.
Yes.
Peace is a good barometer of, okay, hold off. I'm veering into the wrong direction. I would say peace definitely for me is huge.
Yes. So think of one decision you still judge yourself for. Not to relive it, just to acknowledge it. Now say this to yourself. I made the best choice I could with what I knew then. Take a deep breath and let that be the end of that story. Because every version of you was doing her very best with what she had at the time. Until next time, God bless.